What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Culture and Common Sense. This is the podcast where we get to relax and break down some of the biggest moments, the biggest happenings in pop culture, and try to pull out the real life lessons because whether we want to admit it or not, famous people are out here giving us free, full on masterclasses in failure and redemption. I'm your host, Bwoizy, and today we're going to be talking about scandals, success, and second chances. I believe that these are three things that Hollywood loves to see. The internet thrives on it. And if we're being real, if we're being honest, these are also some things that we have to deal with in our own lives. And I want you to think about it. One minute, someone could be on top of the world, they could be on top of their game, and the next, they could be getting dragged, cancelled in an instance. But somehow, some of these people are able to make a comeback. Somehow, some of these people are able to clean up their image and do it bigger and better than before. So, the question today is what makes the difference? Who gets a second chance versus who gets to stay cancelled forever? These are some of the things that have been on my mind, and I want to discuss them in this episode of the podcast. So, stick around. All right, trigger warning. We're going to be talking about Diddy or Mr. Love or Mr. Puff or whatever he's calling himself these days. We're going to be talking about that guy. Now, listen, if you grew up in the 90s or early 2000s, you would already know that this guy was hip hop royalty, instrumental in launching Bad Boy Records, which is held as a legendary production company. He had that show, making of the band, and Chirac the vodka, he endorsed it. Didn't he also have a stake in the company at one point? I don't know, I never did that much research, but anyways, lately things have not been looking good for the guy. The lawsuits, the accusations, and it draws people to now question, is Diddy's legacy over? And here's the thing with Diddy. He's one of the most powerful men in the entertainment industry, or at least so we thought. Success doesn't make you untouchable. It just means that you have more to lose, And the first lesson that we can draw from this is that success doesn't mean security. You can be at the top of a game one day and, one scandal, one bad decision can have people ready to erase you from history. We're seeing that with Diddy right now. Love the guy or hate the guy, he's done well for himself in his lane, being in the music industry. Sure, he's done some questionable things that are immoral. Can you separate the businessman from the monster? I don't know. But another lesson here is that reputation is currency. Diddy spent decades building this empire, but when public trust is lost, this shows us that no amount of money can buy that back. And here's the thing, whether you're a celebrity or an entrepreneur or you're just living your life, your reputation matters. It determines who supports you in the end, in the long run. It determines who believes in you and, who will stand by your side when things start to go south. And I'm not talking Florida, I'm talking about hell. When things start going to hell. Okay, I had to edit some things out because it was getting a little bit crazy, going real south. But anyways, the question that I want you to ask yourself, we're not just talking about Diddy for the sake of talking about Diddy. The question I want you to ask yourself is, can Diddy recover from this? History kinda says yes, because we've seen people go through crazy moments in their lives. They lose the public's support and they come back. They come back swinging. We've seen it before. OJ Simpson kinda did it. But you know what? All right. Let's move on to the next segment. All right, now that you've gotten some time to think about what we just discussed, let's look on the flip side. Let's talk about someone who actually made a good recovery, who was able to clean up their image. And that person is none other than, you guessed it, Robert Downey Jr. A little bit of his history is that he was a problem. He was talented but reckless, addicted to drugs. He was in and out of jail. We've seen it all before. He was even arrested for like breaking into someone's house and passing out in their bed. I hope that never happens to me in real life. Like, it would make for a good scene in a movie. It's entertaining, but in real life it's very dangerous. And Hollywood basically said like, hey dude, we're done with you because you're a liability. But fast forward to today, he didn't just make like a regular comeback. He came back and he owned Hollywood. Like, he literally went from being a liability to leading one of the biggest movie franchises in history. Like, we all know Iron Man and some of the other stuff he's done. But the long and short of it is that he went from being unhireable to winning an Oscar. Let's like kind of dissect this. How did he do it? The lesson that we can learn from this is that people love a redemption story. The world is quick to cancel you because like, hey, we're all hypocrites and stuff, but it's even quicker to cheer for a comeback. Like, people don't actually want to see you fail. They just want to see if you can rise from it. Like, that's like a flip side kind of way to look at it. And another thing is that consistency beats controversy. Like Robert Downey Jr., RDJ, some people call him, he didn't just clean up his image. He showed up every single day and he showed up as a better version of himself. He proved through his actions that he was different, he was changed, and that's key. A lot of people apologize when they mess up, but very few of them actually put in the work to make a change. And that's what you have to do. You have to like actually want to make a change. So let's think about it now for a second. What separates the ones who make a comeback from the ones who just fade away? What's the formula? Because if we're being real, we know that some people recover, they clean up their image, and it's like back to normal. And then some people get left in the dust. We can't even remember their names. Like, I can't even remember someone's name right off the bat who got canceled just for whatever reason and they didn't make a comeback. Oh my goodness. It's happening in real time. They're being erased from history. Or maybe I just have a short memory span. I don't know. But I don't think there's actually a formula. But I think that there are some things that we can do to kind of avoid falling into the void. And I believe it starts off with owning up to your mistakes. People don't really like excuses. I think they like accountability more. You have to put in the work. Apologies without action are just noise. So you have to show some improvement. Don't just like talk about it. Don't just give it lip service. And I think another thing you can do is try to control the narrative. If you don't tell your story, someone else will, and they'll probably tell it the wrong way. It's like Chinese telephone. Look at even Kevin Hart. When those old tweets came back to haunt him and he lost his chance to like host the Oscars and I'm sure some other gigs, people thought he was done for, but instead of fighting back, he played the long game. He focused on his work, his brand, his craft, and now the Oscars are basically old news. He's on to, I'd say, bigger and better things. So the lesson here is that if life knocks you down, whether it's your fault or not, you have to ask yourself, are you going to stay down or are you going to get up and flip the script? Because at the end of the day, life is about reinvention. You control how your story ends, so control it. Hey, I actually kind of liked this episode, scandals, success, second chances. It's all a part of the game, baby. But let me know what you think. Do you believe in second chances, or do you think some people are just too far gone? Let me know on social media what you think. I know that some of you are a little bit scared to talk to me on there because you haven't been sending me messages about the podcast. But if you send me messages about the podcast, I'll respond. It's fine. Until next time, keep your head up, keep your mindset strong, and make your next move your best move. I am signing off. If you enjoy Culture and Common Sense by me, Bwoizy, be sure to like and follow the podcast. At least do that. And tell your friends, because why not?